Hi guys, welcome to SDI TV. Today we're talking about KTM PDS shocks and the Rebound Adjuster housing. Problem with the stock one is it doesn't have a seal around the outside, and water, dirt can get in there quite easily, and what it does is it seizes up your Rebound Adjuster. So what we've done is we've made our unit that actually does seal it. We put our O-ring at the bottom, so it's all the way into the deepest part. There is some that have an O-ring as an outside seal, but it's sealing on the threads and water can still sneak by. Ours requires no special tools, it's very basic. The best way to do this is to do it before yours seizes up, because you don't even need to let out the nitrogen. You literally could do this on the motorcycle. If your Rebound Adjuster does seize up, what you're going to have to do is pull everything apart, clean it, re-grease it, but it requires letting out the nitrogen, pulling the shock off the bike, and it is a bit more work. We are going to go through both ways, that way everybody knows. Alright, well, let's get started. For the people that it isn't seized up, which ours isn't, I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to grab a 15mm wrench and take it, and we're going to loosen off the stock adjuster housing. Alright, now we've got the stock housing out. Take that and remove it. If you're doing preventative maintenance and this hasn't seized up yet, at this point you would just grab the SDI assembly grease, take a brush, and you might as well re-grease everything. We have it apart. If it is seized up, we need to do a whole other step and get this thing loosened up and taken apart. The first step to that is we need to go and release the nitrogen. It's as simple as this. And what I suggest, if it is seized up, just taking some WD-40, liquid penetrant, anything you can, spray it in there, let it soak for a little while, then just take your screwdriver and slowly start trying to work it loose. If you go in there and just start cranking on it, you could tear out threads if everything is really seized up. So WD-40, something to get in or seep in to help loosen it up, will help a lot. So at that point, what you're going to do, once you do get it broken loose with WD-40 in there, go ahead and you're going to completely unscrew it. Because there's no nitrogen, the needle goes and will be in this area, and it'll be able to push past that. As you can see, there is the clicker balls. Make sure you don't lose them. What I suggest is pulling all this apart, clean it all, go ahead, spray all of the bottom of this out with WD-40, blow it out good, make sure it's super clean, and then what you're going to want to do is go ahead and use your SDI assembly grease, not the seal grease. You want to use a thicker grease that is going to stand up to water and just pressure a little bit easier. We're going to grease the threads really well. Basically grease this whole part from the O-ring to the balls. Make sure that the channel that the balls ride in are greased, and go ahead and grease the whole part. You're going to just go ahead, stick it back in, make sure the threads get started, and grab a flat screwdriver, and we're going to go ahead and just start turning it back in. You'll feel when the balls hit the detent slots, and we're just going to go ahead and just, I prefer to just turn this in all the way to the bottoms, and then just turn it back out slightly, just in case it cocks a little bit, and there you go. So go ahead, the next step is going to be grab your new SDI housing, O-ring. Now, the whole trick to ours is we just use the same 15mm head, but we left a small lip right here, and the easiest way to apply this O-ring and get it to stick is we're going to go ahead and just take a little bit of our assembly grease, put it on that O-ring groove. We're also going to grease these threads a little bit and get it on there. And then you're going to go ahead and take this O-ring and just stick it on there. Now, for us to get the O-ring to seal at the very bottom of the threads here, where there is actually a flat landing, we had to make sure that the O-ring was at the very outside edge of this. So there's not much of holding this O-ring on. So you need to grease this well and just be gentle with it as you're putting it in. So we're just going to go ahead, and what you want to do is make sure that the O-ring enters the threads okay, and doesn't fall off the adjuster. If you, the adjuster housing, if you notice as you get to the end of the screwing it in that it's binding up, the O-ring may have fell off. The biggest thing about putting this in is just patience. And once it gets started, it basically falls in. The O-ring goes right to the bottom of the housing gland, and it can go and seal against a smooth surface and not the threads. That way there's no way that water or debris can get by, and you'll never have to deal with a stuck rebound adjuster again. So we're just going to go ahead and use our 15 wrench, tighten this up. If you don't pull the spring off, there really isn't room for a socket due to the spring clip hanging over. So we're just going to go ahead and use the wrench and tighten that up. As far as tightening it, there really is no stress on this part, but you do want to tighten it to be nice and decently snug. Now that that's in, it tightened up nice. As I was tightening it, I could actually feel the O-ring being compressed, so we know we're creating a good seal. Last, right now, all we need to do is go and set our rebound adjuster from all the way in. And because we let out the nitrogen, we're going to take our SDI gauge, go ahead and turn it on to the other reservoir, which on this shock we already have a suspension direct bladder kit on it. Now we're going to go ahead and fill with nitrogen. Didn't get the sugar roll in. Obviously, well, there we go. And with the bigger shock shaft size, I typically like to run these about 135 psi, which is about 0.9 to about 0.9 megapascal. Anyway, we'll take the nitrogen gauge off, and there you go, we're done. And that is how you install our new PDS Rebound Adjuster housing. Thank you.